God never promised us a life without pain. He just promised us that He would be there to heal us and to help us in the circumstances, whether it's our own sin or failure, parental failure, death of loved ones, especially when it's untimely or tragic, disappointments, abuse, rejection, betrayal, whatever it might be. Life hurts, and it's just inevitable that the older we get, the more hurt there's going to be in our lives. The second emotional reality of life is, unless we deal with pain properly, when it occurs, it accumulates within our hearts. And this is why I call this series The Hurt Pocket. There's a place in our hearts that when we don't deal with pain properly, it drops in that pocket, that place there where hurt accumulates. And there are two unfortunate realities in life. And the first is, very few of us know how to deal with pain when we're growing up, and even as adults. If you have really wise parents who are godly people and who help pastor you through the difficulties of life, you're very, very blessed. But most of us were not in that circumstance. And even if our parents were Christians, most of them don't know how to deal with pain. And so we just kind of do our best. And in my life, I'm going to tell you about some of the things that happened to me in my life. But as things happened to me in my life that were painful, I didn't know how to deal with pain, so I just didn't. I just hid it. I just denied it. I pretended it didn't exist. But I had problems later on with that. The other unfortunate reality is that time heals nothing. And there's this old saying that time heals all wounds. No, it does not. Time heals nothing. In my opinion, pain gets worse over time. One of the first counseling sessions that I had when I became a pastor at 28 years old was with a 60-year-old man, and within 10 minutes of the beginning of our counseling session, he was sobbing over something that was spoken to him at 10 years old. 50 years later, he still had acute emotional pain over an event that had happened to him a half a century earlier. Time heals nothing. Your body, if you injure your body will naturally begin to heal itself, but our emotions only heal in the presence of God. Your emotions don't naturally heal. So you could have gone through trauma 20 years ago. That trauma is just as real now. Time sometimes allows us to get away from the emotion of the moment. Time may help us put things in perspective, but unfortunately, time does not heal all emotional wounds. They remain until they're brought in the presence of the Lord. Number 3, emotional reality of life, emotional fact of life, is accumulated pain and unresolved problems compromise our mental, emotional, spiritual, relational health. As things accumulate within our lives, they begin to compromise us. That's why the hurt pocket needs to be emptied on a regular basis. We're going to experience pain. And as we experience that pain, once we know how to deal with that pain, we can keep that pocket empty. But unfortunately, when we don't know how to deal with pain and we're dealing with it in wrong ways, the more that accumulates within our hearts, the more it compromises.